Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life, won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.
It's time for another conversation. Welcome to Making It Last podcast. I'm your host, Noreen Daly, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. And I'm telling you, when I get to speak to people who I knew in another life, I have an extra little about me. And this young man, I knew him in another life, in a previous life, but he has now evolved. He's Jaymie Pottinger. He's an author, educator, and speaker. Welcome, Jaymie.
Wow, wow, wow. Look, it's a plumb pleasure and privilege to be in the presence of Daily. Come on, I'm super excited. I'm excited about the conversation. I'm excited about what you're doing. And I think that we'll be not just dropping nuggets today, but we're helping others to find their best self as they move forward with their lives and their dreams, their goals and their ambitions.
Good, good. So you're an author, and even though we're gonna get into some of the content of the book, tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, I'll start off first, Daily, by sharing an experience that I've had. You know,
Okay.
moving from Jamaica, coming from the countryside, and you know,
Mm.
when growing up or when you'd have been exposed to certain things, you'd hear people give adjectives or descriptions that tell you what leaders look like. So you'd say he's tall, dark, handsome. She's beautiful, and you could hear her heels clapping along the hallway as she walks, or he's tall with blue eyes and blonde hair, and you're like, okay, that's what a leader looks like. You know, he wear wingtip shoes or he drive the Benz or whatever. But then when I think about my parents and my upbringing, my father, a simple farmer, my mother, pre-trained teacher. And when I think back at life, I recognize that they were the greatest leaders who I was exposed to. Then I said to myself, the face of leadership must be something different from what I was taught by my colonial forefathers. And that led me in a path whereby I say, I need to dig deeper, not only dig deeper, but find out exactly what are some of the key tenets when it comes on to great leaders like Marcus Garvey,
Mm-hmm.
Bob Marley, Dennis Brown, you name them. Because if you think about leadership, it's not just about where you're from or what you're doing. It's about
Mm-hmm.
having the strength or the courage to lead people from one position to the next. And then I recognized that there were certain key factors that
Mm-hmm.
really set aside some people from others when it comes on to leadership. And I also recognize that leadership is not just about leading an organization. Leadership is leading up, leading down, leading across, and most important, leading yourself. So that's what drove me in that path in terms of researching, digging deeper, and trying to identify exactly what are those pillars that really set people aside and apart when it comes on to leadership. So that drove me in that path of writing this book about the face of leadership.
Okay. 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 All right. So, which is a nice segue then into what we're going to talk about, which is what is the face of leadership and what are the implications for healthy relationships. So, tell us, what is the face of leadership?
So the face of leadership, and you know that I'm a little bit ADHD and I'm rather at a high altitude right now based on you saw my background just now. So you may have to
Okay.
remind me of the next part of the question by the time we
Okay.
get into the middle of it.
Not a
But
problem.
I'll share there's a face of leadership. The F stands for failure. The F again stands for foresight. Then you have awareness,
Mm-hmm.
agility, confidence, clarity, energy, and execution. And
Okay.
I believe that, you know, somebody said to me, a few publishers said, Jaymie, why would you start a book off with failure? And my response was, could you imagine the first time I tried walking and I fell? If my parents weren't a supporter of failing, then they'd have tied me to the chair and I'll be rolling around for the rest of my life. So failure is an inevitable path of our path to success, prosperity, and transformation. So how
Mm-hmm.
could I not start with failure? And then when you think about awareness, daily, sometimes you may be on the right highway, but heading in the wrong direction. And I think
Ah.
John Maxwell was the one who said that,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know yourself, you can't grow yourself. So awareness is critical in terms of moving forward. And not because you're in the right cubicle mean that you're getting the right results. And you may be in a certain team, but you're not the person that they're applauding. As a matter of fact, they're looking to get
Mm.
you out. So awareness is critically important in terms of moving forward. And then when you think about the next A, which is agility, I always compare that daily to the dinosaur and the cockroach. The fact
Mm-hmm.
that dinosaurs are only found in museums now, but cockroaches are found everywhere. You know,
Mm-hmm.
no pyro, no bacon can't get rid of them because they
Mm-hmm.
manage to be agile. And then you think about clarity. So often we see people who are skilled, they are talented, You know, as a Jamaican, I'm proud of my flag, I'm proud of my people. But so often you come across persons who are capable, but they don't have clarity. As a result, they finish life in the squat and they never ever get raised when the heat hits them.
All right. So we're gonna unpack each of them. So let's start with failure and foresight.
So when you think about failure, we all fail. We all have broken experiences. We all have moments when we feel like throwing in the towel and we feel like giving up. When you think about failure, you know, we have all had bad experiences, and some of the experiences that we have had is not always as a result of what we have done, but because of some of what we have inherited. We have our cultivated or inherited tendencies, and we have some of us were born in certain families, certain settings, certain neighborhoods, and that impact the kind of trajectory that we experience in life in terms of growth. So you ask yourself, what do you do with that? How do you use that to still win? You know, some people use their failure like as if it's dirt, while others use
Okay.
it as if it's lucrative soil that could help to push them to where they need to be. So failure is an inevitable path towards success. And in the book, we talk about the bounce back theory, and we address people like Abraham Lincoln, who had the most career deflating experiences when it comes down to failure, but he still wound up becoming one of the greatest leaders of all times when it comes down to failure. And then foresight. You know, many of us
Before
we enjoy.
no, before you jump to foresight though, how a lot of us have been socialized to avoid failure. But what you're saying is trying to say, change the mindset, change the narrative. How easy can one do that though, Jaymie, given that how society is quote unquote set up? You're told constantly avoid failure. So how do we change that narrative?
The first thing I say that I had to learn for myself is that opinion is one of the cheapest things you could find. So the first thing you have to do is you have to address your mindset and address your purpose. If you address where you're looking to head, then that should be your driving and your anchoring force. It should serve as your compass moving you forward. But then in the face of leadership, we have what is called the bounce back theory. And the bounce back theory has a lot to do with, first, you have to accept that you failed. After accepting that you failed, like a surgeon, you need to assess your failure. You know, dice that joker up and see exactly what caused me to be in this position. After dicing that joker up and you get the information from that joker, then you now need to anchor in your purpose. Anchoring in your purpose means that you may need to ditch certain plans, you may need to ditch certain people, you may need to ditch your environment because those things may be holding you back. After doing that now, then you have to secure the right network. The right network, like daily, like me being in your class, whereby you say, guess what? This is how we speak and we address people. What do? I add that skill set to my arsenal. Now, I'm not the country boy who lisp anymore. I'm the country boy who lisp, but who can speak real well because I've added what you taught me to my arsenal. So I've added you to my network. Once you have added somebody or something to your network that could push you forward, then you are on a better path whereby failure is now no, not something that pushes you back, but failure is the mirror that allows you to see yourself not as a cat, but as a lion. And once you see yourself like that, you now have the energy and the fuel to push forward, regardless of what the societal norms or what you've been hearing all your life about failure.
I love that. I love that. I love that. All right. So go on now to foresight.
So you know, foresight, I say this, I use this all the time. I remember growing up in Jamaica in the countryside, you know, people would say that when old men get old, they are just the most fearful things ever. They stay to the back of the house, they smoke their pipes, and they go in the rocking chair. You know, I have a totally different mindset where that is concerned. I think the reason why they do that is because when they think back about life, they recognize that they've missed so many opportunities because of their fear of failure. And then guess what? They were in a position whereby it was difficult for them to take steps forward because taking steps forward will put them in a position where they're now on uncharted territory. Now, foresight is whereby you're not just concerned about where you are, but you're using where you are as a springboard to take you where you need to be. So you use that information, you use that experience, that evaluated experience to drive your trajectory towards a place whereby it is going to be unknown, you will fail, you will crash, you will burn sometimes, but guess what? At least you'll be in a better position than you were before. So foresight allows you to see beyond your comfort zone, see in the area that you're looking to head, make changes, adapt, adjust, confront your biases. And when you do that, you are in a place whereby you are now embracing difference. And that's the biggest challenge that we have, embracing difference. When you embrace difference, it allows you to embrace what is called new. And when you embrace what is called new, then you can embrace what is called changes. And then you are now the change, as opposed to you are now entering a space that is one that is requiring you to change. And when you have that foresight, then you're not just the genie in the bottle, you are the bottle and the genie in one, because you're now creating the path that you want to be. Because if you want that life, you create it. And if you like that picture, then you need to paint it.
The face of leadership. Failure and foresight. Which of these are you applying, trying to apply, or you're already living? We'll continue the conversation after this short break with a word from our partners.
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.
I recently have been coached by the great Miss Noreen Daly. I own a video company. I'm also an online influencer. So I do a lot of speaking virtually and in person. She was able to point out some of my weaknesses that I didn't yet notice. And I 100% recommend Miss Noreen Daly as your coach.
Noreen Daly, redefining the way you communicate. Photography is an art, but more so, photography must come from the heart. Precious moments, priceless times. Take a pic and know it will turn out fine.
BMC Photography JA, beautiful moments captured. Let's go.
Langdo Language Institute was created to meet your language and communication needs. All of our packages were created just for you. We are passionate about language and dedicated to your success. We offer the CSEC English program, the Study Buddy program, the Get Ahead with English program, and the Business Communication program. Contact us at 767-285-0938 or email us at langdolanguage@gmail.com, because the real question is, how can we help you?
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.
Leadership, we're all leaders, whether we want to admit it or not. Let's continue the conversation. We're going to backtrack a bit because at least for the last couple of minutes, at least 2 or 3 times you've mentioned the whole idea that it's country, that you're from the country. So for somebody who will watch this or who will listen to this, give them a context, because it's obvious that it has helped to define Jaymie into the person that Jaymie is. That's why Jaymie is here speaking. Country, where are you from?
So you know what? I like to say country, and the reason I like to say country, there was a time when I was younger, when playing soccer and otherwise, you're growing up in places like Jamaica. There are 2 words that are used. Either you're a country boy or you're a country bunk, or you're a city person. Or
Right.
sometimes people like from Mandeville, they'll get a little pass when it comes onto that side of things.
Okay. Well, where in the country in Jamaica are you
So
from?
I'm from Western St. Mary. I'm from, if you know Spanish Bridge, that's a big thing in Jamaica now. I'm right there. That's where I learned how to swim, right onto that bridge there in St. Mary, a few
Okay.
miles outside of Ocho Rios. So that's where I'm from, a farming community.
Okay. Now that we have that out of the way, you've dealt with failure and foresight. We're now onto awareness. Unpack that for a bit.
Wow, awareness, that's a big one. You know what I say when I'm talking to people daily is that not because somebody's clapping mean that they're applauding you. And not because your team is doing well mean that you're contributing to the results. And not because you're on the spot mean that you're on your diamond. And not because you're on the mic mean that your voice is the one that they're hearing. So what I'm saying is that you have to be aware of who you are. One of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself is the gift of awareness. The gift of awareness allows you not only to recognize where you are, but it also allows you to see exactly where you're looking to be, and also allows you to recognize what are some of the challenges that you may face. And you are now an empowered person. As I said before, there are many people who are on the right highway, but they're heading in the wrong direction. And this has happened to me before. Before we started the live, I shared with you that I lived in West Virginia at one point. You know what, Daily? I remember I was on my way to Pennsylvania and I was singing on and on, and I'm singing some of the greatest music you'd ever think of. I was in my element. I was moving to a new job. Everything was right. The pay was almost double. You know, I was just having a good time. And guess what? At some point, I said to myself, you joker, you have been on this road for the last 6 hours. Something is wrong. When I looked at my MapQuest, I was indeed on the right road, but I was heading in the opposite direction. Awareness is critically important because if you're not aware of where you are and where you're heading, you may be enjoying the journey to the edge or the precipice. And guess what? Maybe too late for you to turn around. So awareness is such a critical part in terms of growth, transformation, and relationship. Because one of the reasons why we find it so difficult to have great relationships, because we are not aware of ourselves. And we end up portraying something that we're not. And then when the joke really gets sweet, everybody recognizes that we are no longer enjoying the joke because it's not who we are that we're displaying at that point. So it's critically important for you to know who you are, where you are, what you're looking to achieve, and others will embrace the difference that you bring. And guess what? You'll be more satisfied, as a Rasta man would say, satisful in the process of creating relationships, you know?
You do though know that that whole sense of awareness is easier said than done.
Sure.
Some people get on that boat for want of a better way of describing it early. Some people, it takes years for them to get to that point. For somebody who will listen and watch this, what will you say to them to help them to fast track that process, to actually have that self-awareness kicking in?
What I'll say is that there are two ways. You know, at Pottinger and Associates, you could jump on our website and you could do the scientific method, the behavioral analysis, and that will give you a quick scientific feel in terms of where you are, what some of your strengths are, and stuff like that. But the quick old school way of doing it is that finding at least 5 people who are in your inner circle who are honest people, and ask them, what are some of my strengths and what are some of my weaknesses? What are some of the things that I'm good at? And what are some of the things that I really suck at? And also ask those persons to hold you accountable on a path whereby maximizing your strength while reducing your weaknesses and moving on that path is the easiest way to get there. Getting people who believe in you, who are honest with you, who will give you that feedback that you need to push you forward.
Agility.
So agility. Wow. You know, one of the things that we don't like to do, we don't like to reflect, especially if the reflection is not one that puts us defeating the Goliaths. You get me? We like reflecting on things that are good. You know, it's almost like talking about your good old days. I've never heard anybody say, let's talk about the bad old days. But really and truly, sometimes you have more bad old days than you have good old days. But agility asks for you to reflect, to pivot, to be able to make changes, to be different, and to move with the wave in some regards in terms of getting to that place. And we don't like to pivot. We like our comfort zone. And if you think about the workforce now in the States, you know, people talk about the great resignation. And the reason why that's happening, because most leaders and most managers, the employees are looking to pivot, but the leaders are still holding on to the old way of doing things. So agility allows you to remain relevant. If you don't want to be relegated into antiquity, then you have to be willing to adjust, to adapt, to switch. And sometimes, like Mitt Romney, you have to even flip-flop if flip-flopping will get you to where you need to be.
The face of leadership. Failure and foresight, awareness and agility. Which of these are you applying, trying to apply, or you're already living?
Thanks for joining us for part 1. Part 2 is coming soon.
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.